morning. Welcome to the Sunday morning forum at First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee. Before we begin this morning, though, I'd like to remind you that next Sunday, December 11th, our speaker will be Natalie Wickman. She's Fund Development Coordinator for Guest House of Milwaukee. And she's going to be talking about the community ministry connection at Guest House. And a quick reminder about COVID. We are optional mask period now at programs here at church. And we are expecting that people will honor individual COVID safety needs of those that are present. And now I welcome myself, host, who will introduce today's speakers. I'm Lorraine Jacobs, if I didn't say. I'm very happy to have with me today Vashti, Lozier, Melissa Meier, and Kathy Platt. The three of them have been working in many direct personal positions of responsibility, but they are working together on forming and strengthening the Shorewood age-friendly community. And through that, they are connected with the Dementia Friendly America Network. And we'll be hearing today about some tips about communicating with people with the disease, with information about the disease, and how to become a dementia friend, which we will all be able to sign up as after hearing them talk today. So, and I welcome Vashti to the microphone and she'll begin our program.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay. So again, I'm Vashti Lozier. I'm from the village of Shorewood, and I'm a volunteer with the Dementia Awareness Workgroup. And I'm also here with Kathy and Melissa, and we are all trained as dementia champions. We're volunteers, we're not experts in dementia, but we are here to raise awareness, acceptance, and destigmatize dementia. If you have questions, we'll do our best to answer them, but again, we're not experts, so we can't give you advice. We can just point you to, we have a variety of resources over at this table, and we will point you to those afterwards. Also, if you can take this, Alice, would you pass those out? So we have some handouts over here, and there's also a sign-in, so if you have a chance to sign in before you leave, that would be great, because you will all be dementia friends when this is over. So the village of Shorewood was designated as an age-friendly community in 2017. And we have a commitment to work towards making Shorewood a great place to live for people of all ages. And we work on transportation, housing, intergenerational connections, walkability, bikeability, and equity. And also another big part of that work is making it a dementia-friendly community, and we earned that designation in 2019. So we're part of the Dementia-Friendly Network of Communities. And have this dementia awareness group that we're all part of, and we put on programs. We have educational events. We also have a memory cafe, which is a social event for people with memory loss and their caregivers and family members and members of the community who want to attend, and also a support group for people who are caregiving for people with dementia. Those programs are in Shorewood, but they are open to anybody in any community, so they're not limited to Shorewood residents. So, we are going to compress. This is a 1-hour session that we're compressing into 50 minutes, or really even less with the introduction. So we're going to kind of move along quickly, but so we'll stick around a little bit afterwards if you can stick around to answer questions. So I just want to kind of set the stage. So 1 in 10 people are living with dementia who are over the age of 60, and over the age of 80, it's almost half of people are living with dementia. So the bottom line is probably everybody here in the room knows somebody with this condition or will, and certainly within our congregation, we have members, and it's helpful to know, like, I think sometimes there's a stigma and there's a fear around dementia, and as a result, sometimes we walk away from people and situations where we feel uncomfortable, and instead we should be walking towards that. We should be supporting people, making people feel welcome, and kind of avoiding the pitfalls of social isolation that happen quite frequently with dementia and cause people to decline more quickly. So when you think of dementia, is there one word, you think of one word that comes to mind when you think of dementia? And you can just kind of shout them out.
Forgetfulness.
Forgetfulness.
Confused,
Confused.
sad,
Sad. Anything else come to mind? Remembering.
frustration.
Frustration, for sure. So, are these positive words or negative words? For the most part, actually all of those are really more negative words than positive words, and that's part of why I think we all have the feelings we do about dementia, but I hope that we can share some stuff that maybe brings some light and hope to this as well. So dementia is not one specific disease, but it's instead an umbrella term. So there are multiple diseases that lead to dementia. So one is Alzheimer's disease that accounts for like 60 to 80% of all dementia, but there's also Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and vascular dementia. So there are a variety of things under that umbrella, but they all lead to different difficulties with memory, language, problem solving, and other thinking skills that interfere with a person's ability to perform normal everyday tasks. And that's one of the keys, is the interfering with normal everyday tasks. So I want to talk about Dementia Friends first. Dementia Friends is an international movement which started in the United Kingdom in 2013 and it came to Wisconsin in 2018. And the goal of Dementia Friends is to help everyone in the community understand the 5 key messages about dementia, how it affects people, and how we can each make a difference in the lives of people living with it. So at the end of the session, you'll all be Dementia Friends. And if you have time to stay after, we may take a quick picture so that we can commemorate you all being Dementia Friends. So I'm going to turn it over now to Melissa.
Now I'm going to just mention about normal aging versus Alzheimer's disease. Most people know that they experience physical changes as they age. They may now wear glasses, have graying hair, and feel stiff when they get up moving. We also experience some cognitive or thinking skill changes as we age. We may find we don't remember names as easily, or that we may have trouble concentrating in busy settings. Next, we are going to talk about changes that are not normal and may be signs or symptoms of something significant. There are 10 early signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. You can find these in the handout that we'll have, and then we also have information on the side there as well. The first sign is memory loss that disrupts daily life. One of the most common signs of Alzheimer's is memory loss, especially forgetting recently learned information. Others include forgetting important dates or events, asking for the same information over and over, relying on memory aids such as reminder notes or electronic devices, or family members for things that they used to handle on their own. What is typical with normal aging? Sometimes forgetting names or appointments, but remembering them later. The second sign is challenges in planning or solving problems. Some people may experience changes in their ability to develop and follow a plan or work with numbers. They may have trouble following a familiar recipe or keeping track of monthly bills. They may have difficulty concentrating and take much longer to do things than they did before. So what's typical with normal aging? Occasionally making errors when balancing a checkbook. The third sign is difficulty completing familiar tasks at home, at work, or at leisure. People with Alzheimer's often find it hard to complete daily tasks. Sometimes people may have trouble driving to a familiar location, managing a budget at work, or remembering the rules of a favorite game. What's typical of normal aging? On occasion, needing help to use the settings on a microwave or to record a television show. The fourth sign is confusion with time and place. People with Alzheimer's can lose track of dates, seasons, and passages of time. They may have trouble understanding something if it is not happening immediately. Sometimes they may forget where they are or how they got there. What's typical with normal aging? Getting confused about the day of the week, but recalling it later. The fifth sign is trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. For some people, having vision problems is a sign of Alzheimer's. They may have difficulty reading, judging distance, and determining color or contrast, which may cause difficulty with driving. What's typical with normal aging? Vision changes related to cataracts. The sixth sign is new problems with words and speaking or writing. People with Alzheimer's may have trouble following or joining in a conversation. They may stop in the middle of a conversation and have no idea how to continue, or they may repeat themselves. They may struggle with vocabulary, have problems finding the right word, or call things by the wrong name, such as calling a watch a hand clock. What's typical with normal aging? Finding or sometimes having trouble finding the right word. The seventh sign is misplacing and losing the ability to retrace steps. A person with Alzheimer's disease may put things in unusual places. They may lose things and be unable to go back over their steps to find them again. Sometimes they may accuse others of stealing. This may occur more frequently over time. What's typical with normal aging? Misplacing things from time to time, such as a pair of glasses or the remote control, and then retracing your steps to find them. The eighth sign is decreased or poor judgment. People with Alzheimer's may experience changes in judgment or decision-making. For example, they may use poor judgment when dealing with money, giving large amounts to telemarketers. They may pay less attention to grooming or keeping themselves clean. What's typical with normal aging? Making a bad decision once in a while. The ninth sign is withdrawal from work or social activities. A person with Alzheimer's may start to remove themselves from hobbies, social activities, work projects, or sports. They may have trouble keeping up with a favorite sports team or remember how to complete a favorite hobby. They may also avoid being social because of the changes they've experienced. What's typical with normal aging? Sometimes feeling weary of work, family, or social obligations. The 10th sign is changes to mood and personality. The mood and personalities of people with Alzheimer's can change. They can become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. They may easily be upset at home, at work, with friends, or in places that are out of their comfort zone. What's typical of normal aging? Developing very specific ways of doing things and becoming irritable when a routine is disrupted. Now we're going to show a video that will help us understand dementia a little bit more as well.
I found myself saying something or trying to say something and when I realized that the word didn't even fit in that I said or something like that. So I just kept, thinking about it. That didn't happen every day. It didn't happen, hardly at all. And then it just kept getting a little bit worse, a little bit worse. I think some of the family members thought something was off, I guess. Did any of them think dementia? Probably not.
When you used to doing things and doing it right and doing it, and all of a sudden, you can't remember this and you can't, what is your name? It's like a dark area. It's just like being in darkness,
And I think everybody that moves these people walk away from their figure of intention. Angels loves. And that bothers me that they do that.
I have to be aware that any moment, my brain might not tell me where to go.
My first reaction was that when Venus and leave.
I can't spell anything, like I used to be able to learn to spell, just learn to check. Now I am, I'm not very well. The thing is how you do it, and all that stuff, but I thought I was so good at this. Gone, or on the way gone.
Remembering names, I think that's the biggest issue.
People sometimes would kind of look at you kind of strange, because I'm not saying what they want me to say or talk the way they want me to talk.
When I started putting my shirts on backwards, that was one of my early signs too.
Walking, that's why I have a cane now. And because I have a tendency to walk sideways. And I don't want to trip. Fall.
Darkness is not good for me, and I tend to trip or fall, and my coordination isn't as it used to be. Oh, I don't cook anymore either, because when I cook, and it doesn't matter if someone's in the house or not, I just start cooking, and I forget about using. What I use when you but the stove, I forget every time to turn it off. Every time I cook, no matter who's there.
Right now, like I'm doing really good because I have someone that takes care of me really good, you know.
Be active in the community, so go to yoga, do things like that. Don't do it so well, but that's okay.
Staying active, even a little bit active, keeps you interested.
And I like to be around people.
When people would struggle, I'd go over and help them. And I found it very uplifting to help other people.
You know, you can't deny this disease. If you deny it, you're going to get in trouble.
The singing is very, very good to the brain. We know that. And the more we can do that, the better off we'll be.
People that have dementia, I think, are very unique. I think they have a lot to offer.
It's an attitude here. You have to get up in the morning and say, okay, I gotta do this today. Even if it's just one thing.
I could say to a person that it's gonna be all right. And I can say to a person that depend on God. Because with God, everything is right.
I'm not ashamed of it. And nobody should be. I mean, I had cancer. Was I ashamed to have cancer? No. Why would I be? You know, why should I be ashamed of having dementia?
I've lasted 14 years with this disease. It's not gonna go away. I accept that. Only thing I guess with my future is that I'll work as hard as I can to stay alive and functional.
So we're gonna review the.
If you are struggling with vision problems, add half a teaspoon of this to a glass of water before bed. Every adult human has around 106 million cells in their eyes. These cells collect light signals and send them to our brains, where they're decoded and turned into what we see.
Go back to the presentation.
Scientists from Johns Hopkins University discovered something shocking: a chemical pollutant that can damage these cells in the eye and disrupt vision. which is present in the body of 98% of the American population. But then in 2021, researchers discovered a way to eliminate that chemical by using it at night time.
Yeah. I think if you hit escape, you'll. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna go back and review those 5 key messages again before the end of the session. But the next kind of story kind of talks about how that quality of life and those connections are so important. And what they said in the video about the personal connections is really key. So if you picture a 70-year-old woman as a bookcase full of books, and the top level of books are her memories of facts, her skills for thinking, complex, complicated problem solving, and the bottom levels, the bottom shelves of books are her personal connections, her feelings, her feelings of security and her personal connections. So if you shake a bookcase, which books fall off first? The ones at the top. So dementia is similar to that in that if you shake that bookcase, those complicated problem solving abilities go away first. And then as the bookcase continues to be shaken, it gradually goes down, but what stays? The feelings of connection, the feelings of security, the people skills, the ability to feel secure in her environment. Emotions and feelings are down at the bottom. So just like they are in the lower inner part of the brain, which is usually the last part of the brain to be affected by dementia. And this is the instinct area of the brain. Feelings like love, happiness, frustration, and sensing respect reside there. And that's how Dementia Friends can help a person that is experiencing dementia feel that connection still with their world and still have a good quality of life. The bookcase story helps explain different thinking skills and memories and the effects of dementia. Facts and complex thinking will fall away quickly, but emotions and feelings and how you make somebody feel will remain forever. My name's Kathy Platt. I'm a retired nurse, and I've worked in elder care for about 44 years as an RN, and the last 10 was in public health, but I've also worked in many other areas of long-term care, and I've seen firsthand how the person connection can make a huge difference. So the next thing we're going to do is everyday tasks. So we've talked a little bit about how complex thinking is one of the first things to go. So I'm going to just do this where usually we break into little groups, but we're just going to do this as one big group because why not? How complex is making a sandwich? It's an everyday task. We probably all do it several times a week, or if we have kids, like every night, right? How complex is that? How many steps do you think it would take? What would be the first step, do you think? Just shout out something.
Getting the ingredients out.
Okay, so how many ingredients are we talking about?
Peanut butter jelly.
Bread, peanut butter, jelly. What goes first? Even before that?
Gotta buy this.
Buying it, knowing where it is. So going to the cabinet, opening the cabinet, opening the next cabinet, maybe the jelly's in the refrigerator. So we've just added 5 or 6 steps to that task. And we haven't even like opened the bread yet. What would maybe be the next? We got the ingredients out. We know we want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You need a skillet or
Not knife.
Yeah. So again, it's like, okay, I need a knife and or a spoon. Where are those? I got to find those, open the drawer. Hopefully they're clean, get them out. put them down. So we just added 3 or 4 steps there. And we don't even have the peanut butter open yet, which to me is hard. So what next? So we've opened the peanut butter,
Open the jelly.
open the jelly.
Decide which jelly you want.
Yep, maybe you have multiple kinds. Yeah,
I get the plate out at some point.
get a plate out at some point, or the bag, if you're gonna stick it in the bag for a lunch or something, yeah, where are you gonna put it instead of just sitting on the counter for the dog to eat, right? And we haven't even put the peanut butter on the bread yet. What would maybe be next?
We'll bring the package of bread.
Mhm. And those twist ties can be kind of complex, right? I always do it the wrong way and then end up tightening it. So, and I've seen people with dementia just get frustrated with that and just literally rip the bag open because it's easier because that's their problem solving. I just need to get in there and get the bread. And they do that whatever way is necessary. So we got the bread out, got 2 pieces of bread. We've got the peanut butter open. We figured out what kind of jelly.
You've got to use the knife to get into the peanut butter and jelly.
Scoop it, put it on the bread. Are you getting how many? There's the estimate is that there's actually 35 or more steps to making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It sounds like a simple everyday task, but there are so many complex things that can go wrong. And then after you have the sandwich made and you're ready, then what? You gotta put it all away. So you have to put it back where it belongs. You put the jelly in the cupboard and the bread in the refrigerator and the peanut butter in the closet. Those are all things that are really, really common because that's complex.
You put your ingredients in a different place than I do.
Same.
And then I can't find them next time. So people with cognitive impairment or dementia find something that's that easy, that simple, frustrating and complex, and their families don't understand and people don't understand. Why couldn't you just make a sandwich, Mom? Because it's not as easy as it seems. 35 to 40 steps to make a sandwich is a complex thing to do. So we have to understand how that works for people and understand that some of those more complex things, you can make it easier. You can put everything that can be out. You can eliminate some of those steps for people with dementia and reduce some of that frustration. At the very least, if somebody is frustrated, you can tell them, I know this is frustrating for you. I understand. So again, that people connection is really, really important. That's the everyday task we go over. Thanks.
Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about communication. How do we communicate? And this, to me, reading through this, it's not only for folks with dementia, but everybody. This is very good communication skills in general. The ability to exchange ideas, wishes, or feelings is a basic need, right? Communication with a person with dementia requires patience, understanding, and good listening skills. When we talked about that bookcase story and talked about how a person might feel as the changes with dementia continue to affect thinking. One of the skills that may be greatly changed is the ability to communicate, both expressing needs and understanding what others are asking. As we now talk about communication, keep in mind how the person might feel. Changes in the ability to communicate are unique to each person with Alzheimer's and can include using familiar words repeatedly, inventing new words to describe familiar objects, easily losing his or her train of thought, reverting to a first or birth language, and having difficulty organizing words logically. Ongoing communication is important, no matter how difficult it may become or how confused the person with Alzheimer's or dementia may appear. You might notice that the person is more easily confused. They may not respond to what you are saying or asking, or they may respond by pushing you away, crying, or making sounds. Sometimes we call these responses behaviors, but often they are simply a form of communication. If the person can no longer tell you it hurts or put their arms over their head to put on a shirt, she may push you away. If everyone is moving quickly and it is loud in the room, he may not be able to tell you to slow down. He may just cry. Use the following tips when communicating with a person with dementia. Treat the person with dignity and respect. Avoid talking past the person as he or she isn't there. Be aware of your feelings. Your tone of voice may communicate your attitude. Use positive, friendly facial expressions. Be patient and supportive. Let the person know that you are listening and trying to understand. Show that you care about what he or she is saying and be careful not to interrupt. People with dementia may have difficulty communicating if we move or talk too quickly. We are like a mile a minute, right? All of us. It could take the person up to 20 seconds to take what you have said and get out their response. So just for fun, let's time 20 seconds and see how that feels. All right, how did that make you feel?
That's a long time.
We want to fill in that gap, don't we?
Yeah.
So this gives us an example of how long that is and that we need some of that extra time to allow someone with dementia to communicate. If someone is having trouble communicating, offer comfort and reassurance. Reassure them that it's okay, encourage the person to continue. Avoid criticizing or correcting. Don't tell a person what he or she is saying is incorrect. Instead, listen and try to find meaning in what is being said. Avoid arguing. If the person says something you don't agree with, just let it be. Arguing usually only makes things worse and often increases agitation for the person with dementia. Offer a guess. If the person uses the wrong word or cannot find the word, try guessing the right word. If you understand what the person means, try to find the right word. Finding the right word may not even be necessary. Encourage nonverbal communication. If you don't understand what is being said, ask the person to point or gesture. When approaching the person and starting a conversation, what you do is you come from the front, identify yourself, and then keep good eye contact. If the person isn't standing, go down to that person's level. Call the person by their preferred name to get his or her attention. Use short, simple phrases and repeat information as needed. Ask one question at a time. I know this skill well with my kids. Speak slowly and clearly. Use a gentle and relaxed tone. Patiently wait for a response while the person takes time to process what you said. Remember those 20 seconds. During the conversation, provide a statement rather than asking a question. For example, say, the bathroom is right here, instead of asking, do you need the bathroom? Avoid vague statements about something you want the person to do. Speak directly. Please come here. vague statements, vague statements. So tell them, please come here, your lunch is ready. Instead of saying, here it is, say, here's your hat. Turn negatives into positives. Instead of saying, don't go there, say, let's go here. Give visual cues. Point or touch the item you want the person to use, or begin the task for him or her, like making the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, starting that out for them. Avoid quizzing. Reminiscing may be healthy, but avoid asking, do you remember when? Try using written notes or pictures as reminders if the person is able to understand them.
Okay. And on the communication piece, I was just thinking, I do volunteer work with therapy dogs, and I've learned over the years that if I go to like a dementia care unit and say, do you want to pet my dog? People will usually say no, because it implies that they have to do something that they may not remember how to do. But if I say, would you like to touch my dog? I almost always get yes. It's so that active versus just all you gotta do is touch them. Just that change in communication can change the whole response. Just something I learned over 22 years of therapy dog work. So, okay, so we're just gonna review those 5 key messages that were in the video. The first one is, and I'm gonna say the first part if somebody just wants to yell out the second part. Dementia is not normal part of aging, right? Dementia is caused by diseases of the brain. It's a brain disease. Dementia is not just about
Memory.
right. It's all it's on your sheet of paper there in case you need the visual cue, right? It is possible to have a good quality of life with dementia. And there's more to the person than dementia. Those are really important things for us to remember as we're interacting with people that we come across in our daily life who may or may not be experiencing dementia. Okay.
If I stand, is that the problem, Mark? All right, great, thank you. So, so you guys have all done, so becoming a dementia friend, you guys have done step 1, which is coming here today and hearing this and participating. So step 2 to becoming a dementia friend is taking some sort of action. So we ask each of you to think about what kind of action you could go forward in your life and take. It could be, and do we have the little forms or no?
I do.
So we have some little forms that we can put up afterwards, or
if you want to take one and write it down just to remind yourself, feel free. They're just little.
Some form for.
It's just to remind yourself. Sometimes writing something down helps people solidify in their own mind what it is they're going to do. It's just a place for you to write down what you personally are going to do the next time you come across somebody with that possibly is experiencing some dementia. It might be something as simple as, I'm going to be more patient with that person in front of me in the grocery line who is really having trouble finding her change or her bank card or whatever. So just a place you write down, you don't have to. We don't collect them. They're just another tool that you can use.
and I would say other actions to consider are if you know someone in your life with memory loss, give them a call, give their care partner a call, stay in touch with a family member or a friend who has memory loss. If you know a group that would be interested in this kind of program, you can come to book clubs or other organizations, so you can reach out to us for that. You can become a dementia champion. There are trainings, we're just volunteers. You can do this as well. So you're all welcome to consider that in the future as well. So please think about some way that you can, what little bit you can do to be dementia friendly in your everyday life. So I just want to make sure everybody we have a whole bunch of resources over here. So if you have more questions, we have a ton of stuff, but I just want to point out, the Alzheimer's Association is like one-stop shopping, and they have a 24/7 hotline. So that information's over there. I have information about what's going on in Shorewood, our memory cafe, the social event that we have monthly, and also the coffee and conversation for caregivers, which is our support group. So we have that information. There's information about a information series we just held, but you can kind of see what we do. This is usually annually. So we would have that again. If you're interested in any of those, my email's on there and you can reach out to me and I can give you more information. There are memory cafes around Milwaukee County. So if you're interested in those, I have a list of a bunch of different memory cafes, and also a Spark program, which is another social event / informational fun kind of outing for people with memory loss. I have a list of resources. This is from Shorewood Senior Resource Center, but you're welcome to take this. It says the Alzheimer's Association also has Milwaukee County, the Division on Aging. They have dementia care specialists that are very helpful, so you can reach out to them. Those two are at the top, and then there's more. These are this go into more depth here as you get further down, in needing assistance, but the top two are really first stops. And then there's this one last sheet. This is like 10 ways to love your brain. This is how to keep your brain healthy now. There are things, so dementia can't be cured, but there are a lot of things that have been proven to potentially reduce your likelihood of getting it. So these are things you all can do now for yourselves. So thank you all for being here. If you have questions, we will stick around to talk with you. Yeah, and you can ask now if you have this. Yeah.
Do we need to come to here, or how do we want to ask questions?
Or if you say them, I can repeat them.
Okay.
Did you want to go ahead?
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
So my grandma she's 85, she has dementia. My aunt is her caretaker and she's a hourly shift worker, so doesn't have very much time to herself. And I live 7 hours away, so we've been trying to encourage her to go into some type of assisted living, live alone, sort of. And at one point, she was talked to a memory care specialist. I think he explained it in a way that sort of resonated with her, and she agreed. And then has now sort of changed her mind and said, I don't want to do that anymore. And I understand, like, we don't want. She feels like we're going to put her in a home, not like an apartment style setting. But how do you feel with that sort of loss of control of their own life?
I think that's really hard. So did everybody hear the questions? Okay. What do you want to take it, or would you like me to try? I mean, that's obviously getting the harder one. So how?
Sometimes if you kind of know what it's like, if there's an assisted living nearby, see if she can participate in some of the activities, make some friends, make some connections. So when I did case management in the community, sometimes that would help people make those connections, and then it became an easier transition. Sometimes and frequently, unfortunately, sometimes you just have to wait for the crisis. And I say unfortunately because more often than not, that is what happens. Is the crisis happens, the person falls, they break a bone, and they can't go back home, and then it's a forced decision. People with cognitive deficits can't always plan ahead and understand why making the decision now is better. But if you can make any of those connections first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you're sort of already in that process has already started for your family, but you know, if you have time, if you know you have an early diagnosis, to have those conversations early is really good. And I have a friend who spoke with her mom early on in the family, and she's had these conversations. She has no signs of memory loss yet. She's concerned that that happens. So she's had conversations with her kids, and it said, like, if this is what's needed at some point from you, I want you to know that I'm okay with that, even if I don't say that when I, you know, at that point, because cognitively that person might not be able to understand what's going on enough to understand the need for it. So that's the struggle.
And she can live on her own like that, and that makes sense to her. It's like the leaving the house piece that is so strong.
And if your aunt is the caregiver, then she has the support, so she doesn't see the need. So, and unfortunately, it might be a crisis that your aunt has. If your aunt has a health crisis and that support is not there anymore, that could force the issue as well. And there's a dissonance between cognitive and legal ability to make the decisions too, which makes it hard.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of places, senior living places that advertise for memory care now. My guess is that there's a great variation in care and understanding and so on. When we can plan ahead, how do we know what's a good memory care place that really knows its stuff and can do a good job addressing the kinds of things you're talking about? You have any thoughts on that? Or other websites to look at?
There's a few things. There's a website shows any kind of visits that they receive from regulatory bodies, so you can review that, but then showing up unannounced to the facility and just kind of seeing what's going on, in addition to making a tour, and then just word of mouth, asking people in the community what has worked for them. But it can be really telling when you just show up unannounced and just kind of observe things versus a tour.
And I would say show up during a meal. When I did case management, I'd always go and visit my folks during a meal, because you can see if they're getting the diet that's ordered, the food is decent, if they're getting the help they need with that meal, if they're enjoying the meal, if it's a social occasion as opposed to just people sitting with trays sitting in front of them. You can see a myriad of things during a meal.
And even asking people, how do you like it here?
Yeah. And sometimes people will say, oh, it's horrible, even if it's not.
Right.
My guess is that most places that have memory care, you can't just walk in. And I know you can't walk out.
Right. Yeah, most of them do have, you do have to kind of sign in. But if you can schedule a visit during a meal where there's not a whole lot of things that they can put in place to make it look good, that to me always works. So it's just one way maybe.
Are memory care units regulated by the state like nursing homes are? You mentioned inspections.
For the most part, they're regulated as community-based residential facilities, but they have no additional, to be called a memory care unit, they don't have any additional requirements. So the CBRF for memory care is really not regulated any differently than a CBRF, community-based residential facility, for any other population.
So nursing homes have to follow this many things, and then CBRFs in assisted living like that much. So there's a little bit of a danger in that because there's less regulation.
The other thing I wasn't aware of is there are care managers that you can hire. That's a private pay kind of situations, but if you can afford to hire a care manager, we have some on this sheet, there are some resources. They can help guide you through that process of looking for places, and they have seen a lot and gone to a lot of them themselves. So that's another option if people can afford a private care manager.
And the dementia care specialists at the county level in Milwaukee County. Candace and Christina are great. And they really know the facilities and whether, you know, they're somewhat limited in what they can say about, you know, this one stay away from, but they can certainly give you some feedback.
Do they do personal visits to people's homes to talk about?
They do, yeah, they do.
That's good.
Yeah, not long term, not as case managers, but as, you know, as helpers, right?
You may have covered this, but is there assistance for the spouse, the caregiver? And how do you find that? My sister-in-law and brother lived in Stevens Point, so you call healthy caregivers, or what would be the way to attach?
I would say the Aging and Disability Resource Center, every county in the state of Wisconsin has one. So if you call whatever APRC it is, at least in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah.
Also, the Alzheimer's Association of Wisconsin has a listing of support groups throughout the state, so you can find a support group local out there, and some of them are virtual even.
The Lincoln Center in Stevens Point has a lot of, I mean, it's their county aging center. They have a lot of programs, so there are lots of resources there.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.